The night Marcus Vale brought another woman into his wife's home, he thought he had finally won. His mother had tossed Cassandra into the rain with nothing but a soaked suitcase and a broken heart, and Marcus did not even look back. By morning, his secretary-turned-mistress was wearing Cassandra's robe, drinking from Cassandra's favorite cup, and laughing as if the house had always belonged to her. But Marcus had made one fatal mistake. The quiet wife he dismissed as powerless was not the woman he believed he had married. Cassandra had spent years hiding behind a simple name, protecting a secret empire no one in that family deserved to know about. She was the billionaire CEO of the real estate giant, preparing to decide who would receive the biggest contract of Marcus's career, a $10.8 billion deal that could make or destroy him. And when Marcus walked into that boardroom expecting applause, he found Cassandra seated at the head of the table. What happened next did not just expose his lies. It shattered his future, humbled his family, and forced him to beg the woman he betrayed for forgiveness. But forgiveness was no longer hers to give, or his to demand. Scene 1. The rain outside her own door. At 10:43 on a Thursday night, Cassandra Vale stood on the front steps of her own house while rain ran down the collar of her wool coat. Behind her, the double doors of the Lakewood Heights estate closed with a soft, expensive click. Elena Vale had been careful, even in cruelty. "You need time to think about your attitude," Marcus's mother had said, standing beneath the porch light with her pearls dry. "My son has enough pressure without your accusations." Cassandra looked past Elena into the foyer she had designed, paid for, and furnished before Marcus ever learned the difference between limestone and marble. Amber Pierce stood near the staircase. Marcus's secretary was barefoot on Cassandra's hardwood floor, wearing one of Cassandra's cream cardigans. Her suitcase sat open beside the antique console table. Marcus stood behind Amber with his hands in his pockets. He did not look ashamed, he looked inconvenienced. "You heard my mother," he said. "Go cool off somewhere, we'll talk when you're reasonable." Cassandra did not ask why Amber was there. She did not ask why her husband had allowed another woman to settle into a house Cassandra had bought through a private holding company 3 years before the wedding. She only looked at the rain dripping from the roofline and began to count. 1. Elena had blocked the doorway. 2. Marcus had witnessed it. 3. Amber had moved belongings into the residence. 4. Exterior cameras faced the porch. 5. The deed, purchase agreement, tax records, and trust documents were all inside Cassandra's private office. 6. Marcus did not know the office safe used a separate biometric lock. 7. By Monday morning, Marcus would walk into the final presentation for the $10.8 billion Atlantic Corridor redevelopment package, believing he was about to impress Sterling Crest Properties. 8. Sterling Crest Properties belonged to Cassandra. She lifted her suitcase handle. The wheel caught between 2 wet stones. She freed it with a patient lift. "All right," she said. Elena blinked, as if she had expected begging. Marcus frowned, as if silence offended him more than anger would have. Amber smiled. It was small, but Cassandra saw it. The kind of smile a person wears when she thinks a room has changed ownership. Cassandra turned and walked down the steps. The rain was cold enough to sting, but she did not hurry. Panic made people careless. Anger made people loud. Cassandra had built an empire by studying pressure before touching the valve. When foundations cracked, she found the failure, documented the defect, and decided whether the structure deserved repair or demolition. By the time her driver pulled to the curb in a black Lincoln, Cassandra had opened the Notes app on her phone. She typed with wet fingers. 10:43 p.m. removed from residence by Elena Vale during rainstorm. Marcus present. Amber Pierce inside home with luggage. Preserve security footage. Mason Gray stepped out with an umbrella. Mason had been her security director for 6 years. "Hotel or office, Ms. Brooks?" he asked quietly. Cassandra's married name was Vale. Her company name was Brooks. Marcus had never cared enough about the Brooks part to understand it. Office, she said, side entrance. Inside the car, Cassandra reached into her briefcase. Across the top of the sealed folder was the name of Marcus's company, Vale Urban Development. Final bid, review, Atlantic Corridor redevelopment. Marcus had spent 6 months bragging about this contract. He had charmed city planners, flattered investors, and told everyone that landing Sterling Crest would prove he had stepped out of his father's shadow. He had also spent 6 years telling Cassandra she did not understand serious business. That memory almost made her laugh. Instead, she reached for the silver thermos mason kept in the rear console. It held black coffee, no sugar. She poured it into the cap and held the warmth between both hands. Cassandra drank once, then opened her notebook. She did not write Marcus's name first. She wrote Amber Pierce. Below it, she wrote Elena Vale. Below that, Marcus Vale. Then she drew a clean line across the page and added 3 words. Property, contract, consequences. At 11:18 p.m., Cassandra entered Sterling Crest headquarters through the private elevator. The night staff looked up, startled, but no one commented on her wet coat or Mason carrying her suitcase. Power, Cassandra had learned, was not the ability to cause a scene. Power was the ability to walk into a building at midnight and have everyone quietly make room. In her office, she changed into the spare navy suit she kept behind a paneled wall. Then she sent 4 emails, one to legal, one to her attorney, one to compliance, and one to herself. The note to herself was the shortest. Do not react, verify everything. At 12:06 a.m., her phone lit up. Marcus. She let it ring until it stopped. A text followed. Don't make this bigger than it is. Cassandra placed the phone face down beside her coffee. Then she opened the bid file that could make him untouchable, or reveal why he should never be trusted with anything worth building. At 6:15 the next morning, Cassandra Brooks sat alone at the glass conference table on the 42nd floor of Sterling Crest Properties, watching security footage from her own front porch. She had slept for 90 minutes on the leather sofa in her private office. Her hair was pinned neatly, her navy suit was pressed, her coffee was hot. Nothing about her appearance suggested that, only hours earlier, her husband's mother had pushed her out into the rain while his mistress stood barefoot in Cassandra's foyer. The footage played without sound. Elena Vale pointed toward the driveway. Marcus stood with his arms folded. Amber Pierce watched from behind him, wrapped in Cassandra's cardigan. Cassandra paused the video and wrote the timestamp in her notebook. 10:43:12, Elena orders removal, Marcus present, Amber visible inside residence. She did not write how it felt. Feelings were useful for private moments, not for legal files. At 6:29, Mason Gray entered with a tablet. Exterior cameras are backed up, he said. Interior motion logs show activity in the guest wing at 8:12 p.m., primary suite at 9:06, and your private office hallway at 9:41. Cassandra looked up. My office hallway. Yes, ma'am, no entry, just motion near the door. Amber, Cassandra thought. Or Marcus. Either way, someone had gone looking. Preserve all of it, she said. Already done. At 6:42, Patricia Lowell arrived. Patricia was Cassandra's personal attorney, a woman with silver hair, sharp glasses, and a calmness that made careless people nervous. She laid a leather folder on the table and removed the documents one by one. Warranty deed. Trust certificate. LLC ownership structure. Prenuptial agreement. Residence occupancy provisions. Personal asset schedules. Cassandra watched, the papers spread across the table like a city map. The house is clean, Patricia said. Purchased by Brookline Residential Holdings before the marriage. You are sole beneficial owner. Marcus has no ownership interest, no occupancy guarantee beyond marital residence use, and no right to move in a third party without your written consent. Amber Pierce moved in last night. That will be useful. Elena removed me from the property. That will be even more useful. Cassandra took another sip of coffee. Patricia studied her over the rim of her glasses. Do you want emergency removal filed today? No. Patricia's expression did not change, but Cassandra knew she heard the strategy forming. You want them comfortable, Patricia said. I want them honest. Those are rarely the same thing. Cassandra turned the coffee cup once on the table. Marcus has his final presentation Monday. For the Atlantic Corridor. Yes. Patricia leaned back slightly. She knew what that contract represented. Everyone in the city did. $10.8 billion in mixed-use towers, transit-linked housing, commercial districts, public green space, and long-term maintenance rights. For Marcus, it was a crown. For Cassandra, it was a risk assessment. And he still doesn't know Sterling Crest is yours, Patricia asked. He knows I work in real estate finance. He believes I manage investor relations for someone important. Patricia's mouth tightened. His lack of curiosity has been consistent, Cassandra said. That was the polite version. For 6 years, Marcus had treated her career as background noise. He liked that she dressed well, spoke softly at dinners, and never embarrassed him in front of developers. He liked introducing her as my wife, Cassandra, then turning the conversation back to himself. He never asked why billionaires called her directly. He never asked why mayors returned her messages. He never asked why she never needed his money. Marcus believed quiet meant small. That mistake had protected her for years. Now it would ruin him. At 7:10, Cassandra's chief financial officer, Jordan Ellis, joined the meeting by video. His face appeared on the wall screen beside a spreadsheet already highlighted in red. You asked for a preliminary conflict scan on Vale Urban Development, he said. We found irregular vendor relationships. Cassandra set down her pen. Define irregular. Payments to a consulting entity called Pierce Administrative Solutions. Amber. Patricia looked at Cassandra. Jordan continued. The company was formed 8 months ago. Registered agent is Amber Renee Pierce. Total payments from Vale Urban Development, $684,000. Cassandra's hand stayed still on the notebook. Marcus had submitted audited bid materials. He had represented his cost controls as stable. He had sat across from Sterling Crest's evaluation committee and spoken about transparency. Services listed, Cassandra asked. Administrative workflow modernization, executive scheduling optimization, private client support. Patricia made a low sound of disbelief. Cassandra wrote 3 lines. Pierce Administrative Solutions. $684,000. Bid integrity issue. Anything else? She asked. Jordan hesitated just long enough. There are reimbursements tied to luxury furnishings, travel, and residential purchases. We are still mapping them. Some may have been categorized under business development. Amber had not only entered Cassandra's home. She had possibly entered Marcus's books. And Marcus, either arrogant or desperate, had brought those books to Cassandra's company. Cassandra closed the folder in front of her. Begin enhanced due diligence, she said, quietly. I want every vendor payment, related party transaction, reimbursement, debt covenant, and personal guarantee reviewed before Monday. Jordan nodded, understood. When the screen went black, Patricia slid a blank legal pad toward Cassandra. You realize what this means? It means Marcus may have contaminated the bid. It also means you cannot make this look personal. Cassandra smiled faintly. That was the first real smile of the morning. Patricia, she said, I did not build Sterling Crest by confusing personal pain with business judgment. Outside the conference room, downtown Chicago was waking beneath a pale gray sky. Traffic thickened, lights blinked on in office towers. People hurried into buildings with coffee, briefcases, and private worries. Cassandra's phone buzzed again. Marcus. This time there was a voicemail. She played it on speaker. His voice filled the room, impatient and smooth. Cass, Mom thinks you overreacted last night. Amber's situation is temporary. Her apartment had flooding, and I wasn't going to let her stand in the rain. Don't embarrass me before Monday. You know how important this deal is. Come home tonight, apologize to Mom, and we'll move forward. The message ended. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then Cassandra picked up her pen and wrote one more note. Marcus believes I owe an apology. She underlined it once. At 8:03, Amber Pierce posted a photo on social media. Cassandra's kitchen. Cassandra's marble island. Cassandra's white coffee mug in Amber's hand. The caption read, New beginnings feel like home. Mason saw it first and placed his phone beside Cassandra's notebook. Cassandra looked at the image for a long, silent moment. Then she reached for her coffee. Screenshot it, she said. Patricia already had. By Friday evening, Marcus had convinced himself the storm had passed. That was one of his habits. He confused silence with surrender. At 5:22 p.m., he stood in Cassandra's kitchen with his sleeves rolled up, speaking into his phone as if the marble walls belonged to him. Monday changes everything, he said. Once Sterling Crest signs, every bank in this city will return my calls before the second ring. Amber Pierce sat at Cassandra's island, scrolling through design catalogs on a tablet. I still think the east sitting room should become an executive lounge, she said. Dark leather, built-ins, maybe a bar. Marcus covered the phone. We'll talk about it. Elena Vale, seated by the window with tea, looked pleased. A man at your level needs a home that reflects his position. No one mentioned Cassandra. That was the second mistake. At 5:34, the front gate opened. Marcus looked toward the security monitor, irritated before he even saw the car. A black Lincoln rolled up the drive. Cassandra stepped out first. She wore a camel coat, black trousers and low heels. Her hair was smooth. Her face was calm. Mason Gray walked behind her, carrying a slim document case. Patricia Lowell followed with a leather folder tucked beneath one arm. Marcus came to the front door before she reached it. What are you doing here? He asked. Cassandra looked past him into the foyer. Her foyer. Her staircase. Her chandelier. Her floor. I live here, she said. Elena appeared behind Marcus, lips pressed tight. After last night, I would think you'd have enough pride not to force yourself into a house where you've caused so much tension. Cassandra did not answer Elena. She looked at Marcus. I'm here to collect business documents from my private office. Amber came into view wearing Cassandra's silk robe. Not the cardigan this time. The robe. The detail landed quietly, like a pen placed beside a signed confession. Patricia noticed it, Mason noticed it, Cassandra noticed it and wrote it down in her mind. Marcus lowered his voice. This is not the time. It is exactly the time. He glanced toward Patricia. Why is she here? My attorney. Elena laughed once. Attorney, Cassandra, don't be dramatic. Patricia opened her folder and removed a single page. Mrs. Vale has lawful access to this residence, Patricia said. No person present has authority to prevent her entry. I suggest everyone step aside." Marcus stared at the paper, but did not take it. That was Marcus too. He disliked documents until he needed them to impress someone. Cassandra walked past him. Amber moved instinctively out of the hallway. For all her captions and smirks, she understood something in that moment. Cassandra was not entering like a wife asking permission. She was entering like an owner inspecting damage. The house was warm and scented with Elena's lavender candles. Someone had moved a bronze sculpture from the console table and replaced it with a vase of white roses. Amber's shoes rested near the stairs. A garment bag hung over the back of a chair. In the formal sitting room, 3 framed photographs of Cassandra and Marcus had been turned face down. Cassandra stopped there. Only for a second. Then she continued. Her private office sat at the end of the west corridor behind a walnut-paneled door. Marcus had always called it Cass's little study, as if the room were filled with stationery and hobby books. The biometric lock accepted her thumbprint. The door opened. Inside, nothing appeared disturbed, not at first glance. Cassandra stepped in, set her bag on the desk, and turned on the banker's lamp. Mason checked the window lock. Patricia stood by the door. Cassandra opened the wall safe and removed 4 folders. Residence deed. Brookline Residential Holdings Operating Agreement. Prenuptial Agreement. Sterling Crest Conflict Disclosure Notes. Then she opened the lower desk drawer and found the smallest proof of intrusion. A paperclip had been moved from the left side of the tray to the right. Cassandra stared at it. Marcus would never notice something like that. Amber might not either. But Cassandra noticed systems. She noticed placement, order, repetition, absence. Someone had searched the desk. She took a photo. Then another. Then she wrote in her notebook. Office entered or searched. No forced access. Review interior hallway motion logs. Behind her, Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Are you seriously documenting paper clips now?" he asked. "Yes." He gave a short laugh. "This is why things got difficult with us. You turn everything into a file." Cassandra closed the drawer gently. Some things become files because people lie. His expression hardened. For a moment, the mask dropped. Not fully, just enough. "You need to stop," he said. "I have too much riding on Monday." There it was again. Not regret. Not concern. A schedule. Cassandra placed the deed folder into her case. "Then you should be careful what follows you into that room." Marcus frowned. "What does that mean?" She looked at him for the first time with something almost like pity. "It means pressure reveals weak structures." He hated that he did not understand. Back in the foyer, Amber had recovered enough to fold her arms. "Cassandra," she said softly, "I know this feels uncomfortable, but Marcus and I." Cassandra turned to her. Amber stopped. The silence was immediate. Cassandra did not raise her voice. She did not insult her. She did not ask for explanations that would only become performances. She looked at the robe, then at the suitcase near the stairs, then at Amber's bare feet on her hardwood floor. "Enjoy the weekend," Cassandra said. Amber blinked. "Excuse me." Cassandra walked to the front door. Marcus followed her onto the porch, lowering his voice again. He always lowered his voice when he wanted control without witnesses. "Come to the presentation Monday," he said. "Sit beside me, smile. After the award, we'll handle this privately." Cassandra opened her umbrella. "You want me there Monday? It would look better." The rain had stopped, but water still clung to the hedges and stone steps. Cassandra looked back through the open door at Elena standing in the foyer, Amber behind her in stolen silk, and Marcus between them, confident that image mattered more than truth. Then she smiled faintly. I'll be there. For the first time all day, Marcus relaxed. He thought he had won a concession. He did not know Cassandra had just confirmed the final scene. By 9:00 that night, enhanced due diligence had uncovered 3 more payments to Amber's shell company, 2 false vendor classifications, and 1 draft email in which Marcus referred to Sterling Crest executives as predictable gatekeepers. Cassandra read the report at her office, kitchen table with coffee beside her, and the deed folder open. At the top of a fresh notebook page, she wrote, "Monday boardroom, let him speak first." Then she underlined the final sentence, "Let the record correct him." Monday morning arrived with the kind of polished sunlight that made glass towers look innocent. Marcus Vale arrived at Sterling Crest Properties at 8:47 a.m. in a charcoal suit, navy tie, and the smile of a man already rehearsing acceptance. Amber Pierce walked 2 steps behind him, carrying his leather portfolio. She wore a fitted black dress and Cassandra's pearl earrings. Cassandra saw them on the security feed from her private office and wrote 1 line in her notebook. Amber wearing personal property. Then she closed the notebook. No anger. No raised voice. No hallway confrontation. Just the line, the time, and the proof. The final presentation was scheduled for 9:30 in the main boardroom. The room had been prepared with bottled water, printed binders, contract summaries, compliance packets, and 1 empty chair at the head of the table. Marcus did not notice the chair. He was too busy shaking hands. "Good to see you again," he said to Jordan Ellis, Sterling Crest's CFO. "I think you'll be very pleased with what we've prepared." Jordan's expression remained professional. "We're looking forward to the presentation." Patricia Lowell sat near the far end of the table with a legal pad in front of her. Marcus glanced at her once, then away. He did not recognize her from Cassandra's house, or perhaps he chose not to. Men like Marcus often edited reality when reality became inconvenient. Amber arranged his notes in front of him and leaned close. "You've got this," she whispered. Marcus smiled. "Of course I do." At 9:29, the room settled. At 9:30 exactly, the double doors opened. Cassandra walked in. For 1 second, Marcus looked pleased. He believed she had obeyed him. He believed she had come to sit beside him, smile through humiliation, and help preserve the image he needed. Then Cassandra continued past the visitor chairs. Past Amber. Past Marcus. Past the presentation screen. She reached the empty chair at the head of the table and sat down. The room stood. Marcus did not. His face shifted slowly, as if comprehension was something heavy being lowered onto his shoulders. Jordan said, "Good morning, Ms. Brooks." Cassandra opened the folder in front of her. "Good morning, please be seated." Everyone sat except Marcus. Amber stared at Cassandra, then at the executives, then back at Cassandra again. The pearls at her ears suddenly looked less like jewelry and more like evidence. Marcus gave a short laugh. "I'm sorry, what is this?" Cassandra looked at him calmly. "This is the final review meeting for the Atlantic Corridor Redevelopment Award." His smile twitched. "No, I mean, why are you sitting there?" "Because I chair this board." The room became so quiet that the soft hum of the climate system seemed loud. Marcus blinked once, then twice. "That's not possible." Cassandra turned 1 page in her binder. "Sterling Crest Properties is privately held through Brooks Consolidated Holdings. I am the founder, majority owner, and chief executive officer." Amber's hand moved to the earrings. Marcus finally sat down, but not because he was calm. His knees had simply lost their confidence. "You told me you worked in investor relations." "No," Cassandra said. "You assumed that. I stopped correcting you after the 3rd year." A few eyes dropped to the table. Not out of embarrassment for Cassandra. For Marcus. His arrogance had entered the room before he did. Now it sat beside him like an unpaid debt. Cassandra looked to Jordan. Proceed with compliance summary. Jordan opened his packet. During enhanced due diligence, Sterling Crest identified several material concerns regarding Vale Urban Development's bid submission. Marcus straightened. Concerns. Undisclosed related party payments, Jordan said. Misclassified reimbursements. Questionable vendor invoices. A consulting entity connected to Ms. Amber Pierce received substantial payments while Ms. Pierce was also personally connected to Mr. Vale. Amber's face went pale. Marcus leaned forward. That has nothing to do with the bid. Patricia spoke before Cassandra could. It has everything to do with the bid if those payments affected operating margins, liquidity representations, or executive integrity disclosures. Marcus looked at Patricia more closely. Recognition arrived late. You, he said. Patricia did not blink. Me. Cassandra slid a document across the table. Mr. Vale, your company certified that all vendor relationships relevant to bid capacity were disclosed. Pierce Administrative Solutions was omitted. Amber whispered, Marcus. He ignored her. This is personal, he said, looking directly at Cassandra. You're doing this because of what happened at home. Cassandra folded her hands. There was the trap. Not one she had set with emotion. One he had built himself. At home, she repeated. Do you mean when your mother removed me from my own residence during a rainstorm while your mistress stood inside with luggage? Several people at the table froze. Marcus's face flushed dark red. Cassandra did not raise her voice. Or do you mean when Ms. Pierce posted a photograph from my kitchen using my personal property? Or when she appeared this morning wearing earrings that belonged to me? Amber removed them with trembling fingers. Cassandra did not look at her. Those matters are being handled separately, Cassandra continued. They are not the reason this bid is compromised. Your documents are. She tapped the binder once. Paper against polished wood. Zovd. Final. Marcus reached for his water, then stopped when he realized his hand was shaking. The numbers are explainable. I hope so, Cassandra said. Compliance will give you an opportunity to explain them in writing. So we can still fix this. No. The word landed cleanly. Cassandra turned to the board secretary. Let the record reflect that Vale Urban Development is removed from award consideration, pending formal compliance review and referral to outside counsel. Marcus stood. You can't do that. Cassandra looked up at him. I just did. For a moment, all his charm disappeared. The man who had let his mother throw her into the rain was gone. In his place stood a frightened contractor watching $10.8 billion move beyond his reach. Amber began gathering papers too quickly, dropping 2 pages onto the floor. Marcus did not help her. He was staring at Cassandra, as if seeing her for the first time had made him smaller. Cass, he said quietly. She closed her binder. In this room, Mr. Vale, you may address me as Ms. Brooks. His mouth opened, but no sound came. Cassandra stood. The room stood with her. That was when Marcus understood. He had not brought his mistress into his wife's house. He had brought his lies into a billionaire's boardroom. And the boardroom had receipts. By Monday evening, Marcus Vale had called Cassandra 16 times. She answered none of them. At 6:12 p.m., a final message appeared. Please, we need to talk, not as enemies, as husband and wife. Cassandra sat at the kitchen table in her private executive apartment, a cup of black coffee cooling beside her right hand. Her notebook lay open. Across from her sat Patricia Lowell, Mason Gray, and Jordan Ellis. The table was smaller than the one at the Lakewood Heights house. That made Cassandra like it more. Nothing about this room had been chosen to impress Marcus. Nothing had been arranged to flatter Elena. Nothing had been moved aside to make space for Amber Pierce's ambition. The apartment was clean, quiet, and precise, a place for decisions. Patricia placed a stack of documents in the center of the table. "Emergency residence petition is ready," she said. "So is the notice revoking third-party occupancy permission. Amber Pierce has no legal right to remain in the house. Marcus's access can be narrowed while divorce proceedings begin." Cassandra looked at the documents. The words were formal, controlled, useful. Mason slid printed photographs beside them. Amber in the kitchen. Amber in the robes. Amber wearing the earrings. Amber's suitcase in the foyer. Elena blocking the front entrance. Marcus standing behind her, doing nothing. Objects told the truth before people did. Jordan added a separate folder. The outside forensic team confirmed the first layer. Pierce Administrative Solutions received $726,000 in payments over 9 months. The invoices are vague, repetitive, and unsupported. 3 were approved the same week. Luxury purchases appeared on Amber's personal accounts. "From Marcus's company funds?" Cassandra asked. "Yes, some from operating accounts attached to Vale Urban Development, some from a line of credit referenced in the Atlantic Corridor bid package." Patricia's eyes sharpened. "That strengthens the compliance referral," she said. Jordan nodded. "There's more. We found a private savings account opened in Amber's name with Marcus listed as an authorized contact. Large deposits followed each consulting payment." Cassandra wrote carefully. "Hidden reserve, possible diversion, confirmed source." She did not write betrayal. That word was too small now. Marcus had not simply humiliated her. He had misused his company, misrepresented his finances, and dragged the lie into a contract that would have shaped entire neighborhoods. He had treated people, property, and paperwork as if they existed to serve his appetite. That was not passion. That was rot. At 7:03 p.m., Patricia's phone buzzed. She read the message and looked up. Marcus's attorney is asking for a private settlement conversation. No. He says Marcus is willing to apologize. Cassandra looked at the coffee cup. An apology after exposure was not the same as remorse. Marcus had not begged when she stood in the rain. He had not called Amber a mistake when she sat in Cassandra's kitchen. He had not defended Cassandra when Elena humiliated her. He wanted the contract back. He wanted the house quiet. He wanted the story contained. "No private conversation," Cassandra said, "everything through counsel." Mason's phone buzzed next. He glanced down. Security alert from the Lakewood Heights residence. Marcus, Elena, and Amber are all present. 2 movers arrived 15 minutes ago. Cassandra slowly lifted her eyes. "Movers." Mason turned the tablet toward her. The gate camera showed a white moving truck parked in the driveway. 2 men carried boxes from the side entrance. Amber stood beneath the porch roof, pointing toward the east wing. The east wing. Cassandra's library. Her late father's desk was in that room. For the first time all day, something cold moved behind Cassandra's ribs. She rose. Patricia did too. "Cassandra, I'm going to the house. We can send officers with the notice." "I know. And you do not need to be present." Cassandra buttoned her coat. "Yes, I do." At 7:41 p.m., Cassandra's Lincoln pulled into the driveway behind the moving truck. Rain had started again, lighter this time, not a storm, just enough to make the stone shine. Marcus came out first. His tie was gone, his face pale with the exhaustion of a man whose future had broken before lunch. "Cass," he said, hurrying down the steps. "Thank God, please just listen." Cassandra stepped out beneath Mason's umbrella. Patricia followed with the legal packet. Elena appeared at the doorway, rigid and offended. Amber hovered behind her, no longer smiling. Cassandra looked at the movers. "Stop." The men froze. Marcus turned quickly. "It's just temporary storage," Amber needed. "No," Cassandra said. "One word. Quiet. Enough." Patricia walked forward and handed Marcus the first notice. "This is formal revocation of permission for any non-owner, non-spousal third party to occupy the residence," she said. "Ms. Pierce must vacate immediately." Amber's mouth opened. "Marcus told me." "Marcus does not own this house," Patricia said. The porch went silent. Elena gave a brittle laugh. "That is absurd. This is my son's marital home." Cassandra walked up the steps slowly, not rushing, not shaking. Her steps echoed against the stone. "It is a residence held by Brookline Residential Holdings," Patricia said, handing Elena a copy. "Mrs. Vale is the sole beneficial owner." Elena's face changed. "Not guilt. Calculation." She looked at Marcus. "You told me this was yours." Marcus did not answer. Cassandra entered the foyer. The house looked staged for a stranger. Amber's boxes lined the wall. One was labeled Master Bedroom, another East Library, another, Cassandra's eye caught with perfect clarity, Office Decor. She walked to that box and opened the top flap. Inside sat 2 silver picture frames from her office, wrapped carelessly in tissue paper. Cassandra lifted one. A photograph of her father standing in front of the first apartment building he had ever bought, before Sterling Crest, before towers, before billion-dollar contracts, back when he had taught Cassandra that property was never just land. It was memory made legal. Cassandra turned to Amber. Amber swallowed. "I didn't know." Cassandra held the frame at her side. "You did not need to know everything," she said. "You only needed to know it was not yours." Marcus stepped closer. "Cassandra, please, I made mistakes. Amber's leaving. I'll fix the company. I'll withdraw the invoices. I'll do whatever you want." "What I want," Cassandra said, "is already in writing." Patricia handed him the second packet. "Divorce petition. Asset protection order. Preservation demand. Compliance referral notice." Every page was dated. Every page was clean. Every page was stronger than shouting. Marcus stared at the documents as if they had appeared from nowhere. But Cassandra knew better. They had been forming for years, in every ignored question, every condescending smile, every dinner where he praised himself and minimized her, every moment he mistook her restraint for weakness. Elena lowered herself onto the foyer bench. Amber began crying softly. Marcus looked only at Cassandra. "I didn't know who you were," he whispered. Cassandra placed her father's photograph back into the box, then closed the flap. "That was never the problem," she said. "The problem is that you thought I had to be powerful before I deserved respect." Marcus had no answer. Outside, Mason directed the movers to unload every box they had placed inside. Patricia documented each item removed. Amber changed out of Cassandra's robe upstairs under supervision and came down in her own coat, carrying 2 bags and none of the confidence she had worn on Friday. By 9:26 p.m., she was gone. Elena left next, refusing to look at Cassandra. Marcus remained in the foyer, holding the divorce petition in one hand and the ruined future of Vale Urban Development in the other. "Can we talk tomorrow?" he asked. Cassandra picked up her suitcase from beside the stairs. The same suitcase Elena had sent into the rain. "No," she said, "tomorrow I change the locks." By Tuesday morning, the locks at the Lakewood Heights house had been changed. Cassandra stood in the foyer while the locksmith tested the final deadbolt. Mason Gray checked the new security codes. Patricia Lowell stood beside the kitchen island, reviewing the inventory list from the night before. The house was quiet again. No Amber in the hallway. No Alina at the doorway. No Marcus pretending silence meant consent. But quiet did not mean restored. Cassandra walked through each room with a notebook in her hand. In the sitting room, she turned the framed photographs upright, then paused. The images showed a version of marriage that had depended on her patience and Marcus's performance. She did not smash them. She did not cry over them. She wrote one line: "Remove personal photographs before sale." At the kitchen table, she placed 3 things in front of her: the deed, the divorce petition, and the final Sterling Crest Award memo. The contract had gone to Whitaker Lane Development, a firm with cleaner books, better community housing guarantees, and no executives hiding Mistress payments behind consulting invoices. The decision had been unanimous. Marcus learned about it at 11:18 a.m. He arrived at the house at 12:04 p.m. The new gate code stopped him. Cassandra watched from the security screen as he stood outside in yesterday's suit, hair disordered, phone pressed to his ear. When she did not answer, he began typing. "Please, Cass, I'm outside. I need to see you." Then another. "I lost everything this morning." Then another. "I know I hurt you. I was stupid. Let me explain." Cassandra read each message once. Then she set the phone face down beside her coffee. At 12:17, Marcus dropped to one knee in the driveway. It was a theatrical gesture, poorly timed and privately humiliating. The same man who had allowed his mother to send her into the rain now knelt before a camera, begging at a gate he no longer controlled. Patricia looked at Cassandra. "Do you want me to respond?" "Yes. What should I say?" Cassandra took a slow sip of coffee. "All communication through counsel." Patricia sent it. Marcus looked at his phone, then up at the house. His mouth moved, but the camera had no sound. Cassandra did not need it. She had heard enough of Marcus's voice for one lifetime. By the end of the week, the consequences had begun arranging themselves with legal precision. Vale Urban Development's lenders demanded clarification. 2 investors withdrew. A regional bank suspended pending financing. A trade journal reported that Sterling Crest had removed one bidder from consideration after compliance concerns. It did not name Marcus, but Chicago's development circles were small enough that names traveled without ink. Amber Pierce vanished from the house, then from Marcus's office, then from the social events where she had once smiled as if she had inherited a life. Pierce Administrative Solutions received a preservation demand, then a civil complaint. Her captions disappeared. Her confidence went with them. Elena Vale called once. Cassandra did not answer. Elena left a voicemail that began with pride and ended near pleading. "Cassandra, families have misunderstandings. Surely this can be handled with dignity." Cassandra saved the voicemail and forwarded it to Patricia. Dignity, she had learned, was often requested by people who had offered none. 3 weeks later, Cassandra met Marcus across a long table in Patricia's office. Not the kitchen table. Not the boardroom. Neutral ground. Marcus looked thinner. His expensive suit hung incorrectly at the shoulders. He had the tired eyes of a man who had finally discovered that reputation was not owned. It was leased daily through conduct. "I'm sorry," he said. Cassandra listened. "I was arrogant," he continued. "I let Amber flatter me. I let Mom push you. I thought you would always be there because you were quiet." He looked down at his hands. "I didn't know what you had built." Cassandra's expression did not change. Marcus swallowed. "I didn't know who you really were." There it was again, the same broken understanding. Cassandra opened her notebook. "You keep saying that as if my wealth is the missing piece," she said. "It is." He looked up. "I was your wife before you knew I was a CEO. I was standing in the rain before you knew I could cancel your contract. I owned the house before Amber wore my robe. None of those facts created your duty to respect me. They only revealed what you chose when you thought there would be no consequence." Marcus's eyes filled. "I love you," he whispered. Cassandra closed the notebook. "No," she said gently, "you loved access, comfort, image. You loved the version of me that made your life easier and asked too few questions." He covered his face with one hand. For the first time, Cassandra felt no satisfaction in his collapse. Only clarity. The divorce moved quickly after that. Marcus agreed to asset separation, reimbursement claims, and full cooperation with the compliance investigation. Amber's hidden account became part of the repayment structure. Elena's influence over Marcus's public life faded as his problems became too large for her manners to manage. 2 months later, Cassandra sold the Lakewood Heights house. It sold above asking. On the final morning, she walked through it alone. Her heels clicked softly against the hardwood floor. In the kitchen, sunlight touched the marble island where Amber had once held Cassandra's mug and mistaken occupation for ownership. Cassandra placed the keys in an envelope. Then she left without looking back. Her new home was smaller, set above the river with clean lines, wide windows, and no rooms chosen to impress anyone. The first thing she unpacked was her father's photograph. The second was a fresh notebook. That evening, Cassandra sat at her new kitchen table with coffee beside her and opened to the first blank page. For a long time, she wrote nothing. Then she wrote, "Begin again, but verify the foundation." Outside, the city lights reflected on the water. Somewhere, Marcus Vale was learning that forgiveness could not be demanded like a contract extension. Somewhere, Amber Pierce was learning that stolen rooms never become home. Somewhere, Elena Vale was learning that a woman standing quietly in the rain might own the entire storm. And Cassandra Brooks, billionaire CEO, betrayed wife, and rightful owner of her own life, turned the page.